watching MusFlashTV.
In ancient times, hundreds of years before the dawn of history, or thereabouts, tribes of humans started branding themselves and their animals in a painful practice that has more recently become very cool, if no less painful. The ancient art form spawned a subculture that came to symbolize individuality and rebellion among outlaws and outcasts.
Tattooing's always been about kind of being different, being rebellious, breaking away from the normal, you know.
Although in recent years, tattooing has become somewhat more mainstream, with everyone from David Beckham to Robbie Williams being inked, there still remains an indelible link to creativity and self-expression.
I think it's just another way of expressing yourself in a way other than words, you know.
I think the connection that it has with music is that, well, not every type of music, right? Like people who listen to Burt Bacharach probably aren't going to be getting tattooed.
I love tattoos, and that comes from an influence of me and Max, of our grandfather.
The sailor.
He was a sailor, Italian anarchist, had tattoos, and we used to look up to him and say, like, man, my grandfather can kill your grandfather, like to all the other kids. It's like really cool guy, and that influenced me and Max growing up. So when we were about like 15, 16, we already had tattoos. At the time where everybody was like freaking out, we were like, man, that's just cool.
Yeah,
you know?
My mom actually. Yeah. When I got my first tattoo, it's not here anymore. It's underneath this tribal. It was a dragon, and I was not allowed. We were really young. I mean, I don't know.
You were like
pretty young.
15, 14, yeah.
And she said, because I've been talking about tattoo, it's like, you're not doing that tattoo, you know? You're like, you're not doing one. And I've been bugging her, like, I'm doing one. She's like, and Igor would draw on a pen, you know? She's like, you see that? Okay. And then, of course, my plans never go as good. I did the tattoo hiding. I found a guy that could do it, manage in Brazil, you know, black market. So I got a tattoo, I came home. Everything was going good. I was hiding good, went to bed. But I'm a dumb I forgot the bandage in a sink with all the blood and the design, and my mom was like 2 in the morning, open the door, get out of bed. Let me see your arm. I show the other one, like, the other one, you know. So I show, like, she's like, out of here, kick out. I think, you know, she's like, you sleep outside, there's a little porch thing or whatever, you know. She made this big scene. And then, now my mom has 3 tattoos. That's messed up, right?
I only have 2. This is my first one I ever got. It's done by Brian Bruno, who worked at Ed Hardy's Tattoo City. It's his interpretation of Kitagawa Utamaro's Ascending Dragon from the 1900s, which was a Japanese artist. This thing, which I don't know if my shirt's gonna go all the way up, this is my second tattoo. I almost got it all the way up. This was done by Khalil Rinty over at Ed Hardy's Tattoo City in San Francisco as well. It is a depiction of a 1900s piece by Yoshitoshi. It doesn't have an exact title, but it's Japanese mythology of this samurai named Watanabe Natsuna, who had to fight this demon named Ibaraki at the gate of Rashomon, which is a real gate. It's like it's a very popular gate that it's in Japan, and it's just a famous battle scene. Both of these are actual woodblock carving pieces that exist, and were from ancient Japan. So for me, as far as I'm concerned now, I'm only sticking to traditional Japanese tattooing in the places that they would get traditional Japanese tattoos.
Kat D, you know, if you're talking about tattoo artists, she's the one who's done these portraits here and stuff like that. So one Finnish writer, there's Charles Baudelaire, and that's Charles Bukowski. And I've got the Eyes of Edgar Allan Poe on my back. And so she's my favorite, but it's just, that was just a coincidence. I just met her through a friend and needed a few tattoos, and you know, so there's a few good ones, but it's depending what you want. When it comes to portraits, you know, I guess Kat's probably the best.
This was done by Mike Shea at Redemption Tattoo in Boston. It's a Buddha holding an open lotus that kind of forms a dragon out of smoke, and for me, the Buddha kind of represents, you know, like the, you know, peace of mind and you know, like those moments of, you know, just contemplation and mellowness, but there's also the other side of life, which is the aggression and the power of the dragon, you know. So it's kind of the, you know, that kind of duality of life. And then over here is a Ganesh, which is the Hindu god of wisdom, and he's the remover of obstacles. So that's kind of, I have him here because when you're on tour, you're gonna run into a lot of obstacles. So it's kind of like a little, you know, little talisman to help me out. And then the Om just represents, you know, kind of the universal, you know, syllable for, you know, just peace and meditation. So. And I've always just been really into Hindu and Tibetan art and things like that, so that's kind of why I went more in this direction with my tattoos.
Well, that's a cross. but my grandparents are on either side of it, and this is my grandma's initials, and it has a windmill because my mom was brought up on a farm, so the windmill represents all their life. It was their electricity, it was their food and everything. And then my grandfather's the ram, because he was an Aries, and that was the sign of his construction. But then there's my son's handprint. So I have my family kind of all wrapped around the cross. And his initials, Jaden Philip Biddle.
Paul Booth, who Rolling Stone magazine heralded as the new king of rock tattoos, is world famous for his work on the guys from Slayer, Slipknot, Pantera and Sepultura. He normally operates out of his shop Last Rites in New York City, where there is a massive 2-year waiting list, but MusFlashTV caught up with him recently at the London Tattoo Convention.
Tattooing's always been about, to a degree, I've always been about kind of being different, being rebellious, breaking away from the normal, you know. And a lot of rock and roll is based the same way, you know. It was like back in the days of Elvis, that was like considered offensive, you know. So it's kind of like the same route, it's just visual instead of sound, you know.
Igor met Paul Booth when they both went to Catholic school, about 20 years ago.
I actually met him at a convention, and he was really a huge Sepultura fan. And I was a huge fan of his work before, because I seen a lot of his stuff in different magazines. And a friend of ours told me, like, man, you know, Paul Booth is like the biggest Sepultura fan. He told me once that he would die, he would cut a piece of his hand to tattoo anybody in Sepultura. And I was like, okay, I'll take that chance and go there and cut his hand myself. So I went there, and you know, and then we became like really good friends, and he went on tour with us, and you know, like really strong. I actually just saw him in New York last year.
He was a tour with us with Pantera, right?
Yeah,
Pantera, that was
tattooing
really
everybody, and you know, that was something that we did that nobody did back in the days. We was taking tattoo artists with us, like
it was cool. It was
tattooing the crew, making you know, like it was quite fun thing for the tattoo artists to experience the life on the road, and for us to get some amazing artwork.
Yeah, I got Paul on me.
Cool. What's your favorite tattoo?
I don't know. It runs the gamut from the one on my neck. It says "My God Has Horns" to my wife's name to Paul. You know, I got them by everybody. Hanky Panky. I'm a collector of artists. So, and Paul is absolutely my favorite guy. I mean, he's one of the coolest people doing the art form out there today. Hanging out with Anselmo. I was living at Philip's house, and Paul was living there, and got to know Paul, and you know, from there it's like you get tattooed by him if you know him, you know. So one of my first free tattoos actually is Paul Booth. I should have paid him hundreds of bucks and let some of the other people off.
If you're going to get tattooed for the first time, think about what you want to get. You know, not everything has to have meaning. It might be a pattern that you like, but research the artists. Make sure you look at the books. Make sure you ask all the questions that you need to have answered. For example, are you regulated by the health department? You don't want to get sick, right? You want to look at their work. Make sure the person's capable of doing what you want them to do. If they're saying that they'll attempt it, don't waste your time. Any professional artist should be able to refer you to someone who can do what you want.
Have something to eat beforehand and relax. Don't try and work yourself up, and research who you want to do the piece, who you want to do the tattoo. Like pick somebody who you know does that style of work. Make sure that you look at plenty of photos of work that they've done and stuff like that, so you know that you're going to be happy with the tattoo.
First 5 minutes of tattooing, man, they are the worst. Like the very first needle, you hear that and you feel something about it. The first,
I don't like
it's
it.
Almost like a regret thing. Like immediately you regret.
I regret every time.
Every time.
Like, I think I'm really stupid. But then,
and when it's done, it's like awesome.
Then you're like, cool.
Advice: sit the still.